Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Denise Roberts. I'm in the State's Attorney's Office. And I want to thank you for coming out here today on a very important issue, arguably probably one of the most important issues in our county about our youth. And I'm just going to bring up our State's Attorney, the Honorable Aisha N. Braveboy, who has a very important announcement for you today. Thank you.
I want to say good afternoon to everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. You know, many of you have heard me talk passionately about the importance of youth justice reform. And you know that reforming our system is near and dear to my heart, an issue that I've worked on for over 15 years. And I have made this a priority of my administration, because what we know is that children who offend become adults who end up in the criminal justice system. Statistics from several national studies show that 52 to 57% of juveniles who enter the system continue to offend up until adulthood. Those numbers demonstrate what we know, which is that if a child doesn't get the help or intervention that they need, they will simply become adults with the same issues and will continue to engage in criminal activity. We collectively are committed to breaking that cycle. We are also committed to ending the school to prison pipeline. As State's Attorney, my job is to keep our communities safe now and in the future. Today, I'm announcing my Youth Justice Reform Plan that will change the way in which our office handles cases while ensuring the safety and security of our communities and our schools. When you look at the number of arrests, according to a University of Maryland survey, from 2015 to 2016, 21% of the school-based arrests happened here in Prince George's County. 66% of those arrested across the state were African American. And so what we know is that we have an amazing, wonderful new leader of our school system, and Monica Golson. And Dr. Golson is with us here today, who is committed to changing these numbers around. And we are honored and very fortunate to have someone from and of our community heading up our school system, recognizing the unique needs of our young people and ensuring that they don't go on a path to prison, but on a path to success. Our plan focuses on comprehensive strategies to prevent youth from further engaging in criminal activity by taking a public health approach to addressing youthful offenders and diverting them to appropriate community-based intervention programs that offer comprehensive services and employ restorative justice practices. Providing restorative justice is critical because addressing the needs of victims of crime is a critical component of our system of justice. The first thing I did was I renamed what was our Juvenile Justice Unit to our Youth Justice Unit. The unit is comprised of seasoned attorneys and staff who have the experience not only to address the crime committed by the young offender, but seek to understand the factors that led to the criminal action. And I want to just recognize those who are with us today who are in that unit, including our Chief, Mike Glenn, our Assistant Chief, Yvonne Robinson, ASA, that means Assistant State's Attorney, Q Lattimore, Joel Braithwaite, Megan Buckley, and Dawn Ellison. But our unit is not staffed with just attorneys alone. We also have support staff, victim witness coordinators, paralegals, and others who assist our young people and their families. Nikisia Anderson, Natalie Golbeck, Gregory Walls, Lynn Strange, and our intern, Kaylin Proctor. Thank you all so much for being here. Oftentimes what we see is that our young people are brought into the criminal justice system for things like fighting at school, or trespassing, or theft. But when you peel back the layers and you look into their case, you may find that they have undiagnosed mental health issues. Some are homeless. Some are suffering from substance abuse issues or have been victims of abuse themselves. So we must, and the justice system requires us to take all of that into consideration in determining how we will handle those cases. Now mind you, we must and we will hold our young people accountable for their actions. We will provide consequences for their actions, but we will do so in a way that limits their exposure to the criminal justice system and the trauma and collateral consequences of being a part of the system. The next part of our reform plan is to focus on partnerships. Our youth justice unit is partnering with our school system, universities, medical professionals, our municipalities, and I want to thank Chief Devon Martin, who's here today from the city of Seat Pleasant, nonprofits, and elected leaders to offer comprehensive services and develop smart policies. So I want to thank again and acknowledge our wonderful CEO, Monica Golson, our sheriff, Melvin High, community leader, Phil Lee, who runs the Community Public Awareness Council, Dana Coles, who's here from Key Bridge Center for Conflict Resolution, Masika Jordan, who's here from the Jordan Peer Recovery Institute, which is housed at Bowie State University, David Hurd from Wynn Family Services, who's not with us today, but a big part of this is Howard University School of Law, who will be partnering with our teen court program that is headed up by our vice chair of the school board, who's also with us today, Edward Burrows. And we also have Joan Branch from Interdynamics. So our office will review each case when a juvenile or young person is arrested, and we will determine whether or not diversion is appropriate in that case. We will work with our other law enforcement partners and our public health community to assess the young person and determine the appropriate social supports that are needed, counseling, tutoring, and other family intervention that is needed. With our school system as a partner, we are able to identify and refer students who may be at risk to the appropriate therapies. With the cooperation of Bowie State University and Jordan Peer Recovery, our partnership will ensure that a college student will act as a mentor to young people going through our program. Howard University School of Law, as I mentioned, will work with our teen court program. And this piece is important because we are training our next generation of lawyers to understand their role in reforming the criminal justice system. These partners have pledged to work collectively and bridge the gap to provide services for youth in places where they need assistance. We believe that our innovative approach, bringing together the resources of law enforcement, the school system, higher education, health professionals, nonprofits, and community advocates is the right approach And Prince George's County will be the gold standard in the state and in the country for youth justice reform. Again, our goal is to keep our community and our schools safe by giving young people the best possible chance for success. And finally, I want to announce that in partnership with Bowie State University's Criminal Justice Department, we will be hosting in November our first Youth Justice Summit. This will be an annual event that convenes stakeholders to review the impacts of our new youth justice reform model and to discuss policy changes and resource needs so that this plan will continue to be effective. Again, I want to thank all of my partners here, most of whom you will hear from shortly. And I appreciate the fact that they support the vision of the State's Attorney's Office, because it will take all of us to make this work. We will reduce the school-to-prison pipeline. We will end the cycle of young people who offend becoming adult offenders. Again, as I stated, it is not only my job to keep our community safe now, but also into the future. And this approach, this comprehensive, well thought out, planned approach to address the needs of individual young people coming through our system is the right approach, not only for them, but for the safety of our community. And I thank you all for being here. And now I will turn it over to our Sheriff, Mullen.
Thank you, Madam State's Attorney. Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon.
I want to thank the State's Attorney, Aisha Braveboy, one of my key partners in the criminal justice system, along with the courts, for inviting me to join her today. I'm delighted to be here in her company and all of our partners here to hear more of the details about her plan for supporting young people through her juvenile justice reform plan. I'm also pleased to be in the company of partners like Mr. Phil Lee and his successful youth diversion program, CPAC, for which I play and the Sheriff's Office plays a limited role in, and with my good friend, Dr. Monica Golson, our CEO of schools, who has continued the partnership with the Sheriff's Office, and particularly in our Positive Day program, and that's Deputies Assisting Youth Middle School Mentoring Program. I'm proud to stand here today with these partners, all with whom I've had the pleasure of working, and specifically on programs that have had to do with helping our young people thrive. You all know I've been focused since I've been in Prince George's County on being a constructive force in the vitality of our community, particularly our youth. And I welcome every effort to help our young people reach their full potential. I'm confident that our State's Attorney knows, as I do, that sometimes helping our young people be the best selves they can be can mean different things. Sometimes our vigilance as a presence in their lives can be enough. But sometimes it can mean us thinking differently about how we respond and what the consequences of our responses can mean to their lives. So, it might mean giving them and teaching them how to accept a second chance, to make the right decision. And sometimes it can mean thinking about the unintended consequences to our community when we are right in our consideration about what price they must pay to get back on track and get right with their community. I applaud State's Attorney Braveboy and her office and pledge the support of my office, the Office of the Sheriff, where appropriate. And ultimately, it's about actually doing something. It's about concrete programs. And so that's why as the sheriff, and prior to that as the chief of police, we started a number of youth initiatives to be on the front side, to prevent them from getting into problems and difficulties. And when they got into minor issues, to have a way for them to be diverted to a constructive program so that we didn't have to incarcerate so many of our young people. And I'm pleased that a number of the programs we have, like our Positive Day program, which has been, I believe, wildly successful in changing the course of young people who have some challenges and issues. And we see that in improved grade points, their attendance records, their behavior, conduct, and so we made a difference there. And I look forward to working with our county attorney, our state's attorney, on this very initiative. Thank you.
Good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon.
I am Phil Lee. I'm the director for the Community Public Awareness Council, better known throughout Prince George's County as CPAC. And I'm also a proud member of Sheriff Melvin High's staff. I believe that children and parents must always come first, so before I say anything more, I would like to acknowledge the parents, the grandparent, and the children who've come out today to show support for all that we do and have done. Ms. Burke, Grandma, you want to stand up? I call her Grandma because that's who she is to all of us. Her granddaughter, Amani Williams. Ms. Claudette Harris. She didn't bring her son, he's working a summer job and refused to take off. And an alumni of CPAC who came to us when she was in 10th grade, I believe. She's now a junior at Salisbury State, and she looks forward to becoming an attorney. Ms. Shania Yates. Shania, where are you? She's little, she's ready back. With that being said, and the state's attorney, the sheriff, I guess they've said it most. But I want to say to all of you all, 17 years we've been struggling to make diversion to become a part of our criminal justice system here in Prince George's County. 17 years ago, then a very young person, well not so young, Aisha Braveboy, she worked with us to bring together this concept called diversion. Diversion is not new. Diversion has been used throughout the United States for years, just not in all of the communities. I indeed want to thank and commend Sheriff High, who was at that time Chief Melvin High, who came to Prince George's County understanding we needed to take our place in the 21st century. What this press conference is about is pushing Prince George's County and juvenile reform into the 21st century. We cannot, and today we have decided to let you know, we will not continue to do the same things expecting a different outcome. Today, we begin to do something new and improved, and we look forward to change. I think the best thing that could have happened is this network that the state's attorney and her partners have embarked on. Becoming a partnering with the Prince George's County Public School System, this is a first. It is a first time that it has ever happened. With the push from my boss, my mentor, Melvin High, we've stayed behind this to try to make it happen. Keeping my religion to myself, I'm a closet case. I need to say to you all, when Dr. Golson hit the ground, it was like a prayer answered. We can now get some things done. I don't plan to waste a day. We commit to our children everything and anything that we can to push them further. The state's attorney talked about stopping, slowing down the schoolyard to prison yard pipeline. My intention, working with this group, is to destroy it.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dana Poles, and I'm the director of the Community Conferencing Program with the Key Bridge Center for Conflict Resolution. Our program is a restorative-based program. We do restorative justice, and we've been doing it with the Department of Juvenile Services and the schools and the community for the past several years. Our program brings together everyone who is involved in or affected by an incident of harm.
And the people who are harmed, the folks who committed the harm, the people who are their supporters, any other stakeholders in that harm, and any kind of resources necessary are brought together to talk about what happened, to hear how everyone has been impacted by what happened, and they as a group come up with what it is that resolves the issue for them. And if there are things that they do post-meeting, and those youth who have been, who are the ones who caused the harm actually comply with those things, then this never needs to go to court. They have resolved it themselves, the community has done it. And that's what we do as a community conferencing program. We come out to the community itself. They don't come to us, we come to them. It's free for all of Prince George's County residents. We have been doing this in the schools with the little kids. We've been doing it with the middle schoolers and the high schoolers. The parents love it because they love their children being able to have a second chance. They love talking to the other parents about what's taken place and what's happened. And we feel that the community needs to be more involved in what happens, how something has impacted them, and they need to be the ones to say, what'll make it right? So that's where we come in as the community conferencing program. I'll be around for any questions if you have any after this. Thank you very much.
I am Dr. Masika Jordan, and as the president of Jordan Peer Recovery, I'm happy to be speaking and sharing our resources with the community, and excited about the work that we're going to do in partnership with the state's attorney's office. What we provide, we partner with organizations throughout the United States, several universities and several organizations and government entities. And what we have done is leveraged an evidence-based practice, which means it works. We have leveraged the evidence-based practice of peer recovery. So peer recovery is essentially you taking individuals from the same zip codes, from the same cut of cloth, if you will, from the same background, and you're deploying them after you've trained them to go back and to give back and to pull out the best out of our youth. We have a reentry and diversion program that actually partners with the state of Houston. Maryland there's a high need here, and we're happy to partner with some of the lessons learned and apply those approaches to the project that we'll do here, and we're here for the long haul. Some of what peer recovery workers do, if you're used to the terminology of life coaching, case management, trauma-informed, and trauma responsiveness, this is what they offer, and they provide the services to the youth without creating additional barriers. So they'll actually show up to the youth's home. They'll actually show up to the community settings where the youth are most comfortable. And because the individuals that we have trained and the organizations that we partner with, because they are from the same cloth, they'll stop at nothing to make sure that our youth are not a part of the pipeline system and going to prison. They are determined, and the outcomes are speaking loudly. I'll be around for any additional questions, and again, we thank you for the partnership opportunity.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is David Hurd, and I'm from Wynn Family Health. I am the outreach manager for Wynn. Sorry for my tardiness, but I'm dealing with a family crisis, but I'm here. We are committed to this process. As you heard from everyone here, you can kind of see the pieces falling into place. I'm the guy who goes out into the community, to the families. We believe in taking a family approach. Those days are over with just trying to work with the youth. We understand that speaking and talking to the hierarchy of the family, supporting them with services to help them find and identify the strengths in their family. We don't go in telling anybody what to do. We join them where they are. We sit at the dinner table with them. We sit in the living room with them. Whatever the case may be, to assist overall what's going on with the family. We offer those services to the parents or whoever the guardian, as well as the youth. We've been doing this for over 25 years throughout the state of Maryland and Baltimore City. We've been very effective with this. We're very excited for the opportunity, for the calling to support these families. And I, once again, want to thank you and just ask that you be patient, and we believe you will see a difference. Thank you.
So I know that our CEO is here to answer any questions that you may have of her, and I certainly will now open the floor to any questions that you have of me. But again, we are really excited to be here to make this announcement and also to show our partnership.
So can you give a real life example? Like somebody does something, police get a hold of him, or What do you do? How do you decide who gets diverted and who gets?
So what our new policy is, once we get the charging documents, we will review those documents. We will also request a background from the Department of Juvenile Services, so we know whether or not the individual has come into contact with the justice system prior to the immediate incident. Once we do a background, a survey, we will work with our medical partners to do an assessment of that young person to determine whether or not there are any social, emotional needs of that child, and if so, we will determine the appropriate partner up here to divert them to for services. If they successfully complete the diversion offered by one of our partners, then those charges will not be processed. Those cases will be completely diverted out of the system.
Why do you think this is such the right way to go? Why do you feel so strongly?
I feel really strongly about this because we cannot institutionalize our young people. Once they get in a system, mentally they think of themselves as part of the system. And that system isn't one in which will lead to real success. And so what we want young people to know is that the community cares about them, that we are investing our resources, our time, and our efforts in giving them the best possible chance for success. It is not in the system. The system does not breed success. Community-based intervention breeds success. And that's why we are employing this very smart model. And as state's attorney, this is very unprecedented that the state's attorney has taken a lead in ensuring that we have a fair and smart system of justice that uses best practices, evidence-based approaches, and also understands the mental and emotional health needs of our young people so that we are not re-traumatizing them by putting them into a system that isn't designed for success, and making sure that they are in the appropriate setting for success.
How are you going to pay for it? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have a question for Dr. Golson, if it's okay. The numbers are so extraordinary in the Prince George's County School System for suspensions and expulsions. Can you discuss how this program is going to play out in the school system and what it's going to look like for the students and parents?
Thank you for the question. This actually is another way as an alternative to suspension. It's so important for us to realize that out of our 22,000 employees and our 134,000 students, there are teenagers, and teenagers make mistakes. And so what this program does is allow our students a second chance, an opportunity to learn from those mistakes, not be removed from the classroom, still have educational experiences, but understand that there are consequences for their actions. So as our state's attorney mentioned before, when that charging document is received here in the state's attorney's office and the type of support, the wraparound support that student will receive, there's communication that will also be had with the school system to make sure that there's a continuity of those services, that we monitor their academic progress through those services. We can report back to that entity on how well they're doing now that that support has been provided. And then once they still have successfully completed the diversion process, it still allows us to have our hands on them to make sure that they continue to be successful.
So there's so many officers, I'm sorry, one more question. There's an expansion to have more police officers inside of the school system. What will their interaction with students look like? Because they arrest, so what will that look like?
So my goal is to make sure that our police officers serve a different role, and that's for us to be as mentors, not as police officers. What I have learned over time is that relationships help to breed trust and accountability. It allows us to help to have our students come to them for assistance and support. And the only way we can do that is to make sure that we train and retrain our police officers, our investigative counselors, and our security assistants to make sure that they become those kinds of mentors that I know my children need.
So Dr. Golson, do you envision the school system's participation in this for kids who've offended outside the school environment? In other words, the diversion process includes, kids who've offended in the neighborhood and not at the school.
Actually, believe it or not, many times the incidents that happen in the community still spill over back into the classroom, into the schoolhouse. And so yes, this is an opportunity for us to still remain connected to our students in the community, to let them know that we're aware of something that took place in an age where social media captures almost everything. you can best believe that what happens in the community still comes back to the schoolhouse.
How many kids are we talking about?
So actually, believe it or not, we're talking about a small portion, but even a small portion of students who are experiencing this kind of setback and trauma helps to make sure that if we don't give them that support, then they can't be successful. So typically, as a building administrator, this might be 10% of their population or less. But even if it's just one kid, it's too many.
Dr. Golson, will there be some, let's say in the high school, some peer mentoring that could help be a part of this as well?
So as shared earlier, we still continue to offer restorative justice strategies. We do have peer mentors. We're trying to provide as many layers of support as possible. As I stated earlier, we have teenagers who make mistakes. I guarantee you there's not a single person in this room that has not made a mistake, who's been provided a second chance. Someone wrapped their arms around them and helped them get them back on the right path. Whatever that strategy is, that's what this team of folks are willing to do to help provide that.
Ms. Braveboy, back to Brad's question. How's the money flow here? I mean, is this grant funded? I mean, you've got organizations here that don't work for free.
Well, they've offered their services to us, and so they have not asked us for anything, but an opportunity to help. And that's why not only are we partnering with the organizations you see here, but also Howard University School of Law's Law Clinic that's going to work with our teamwork program, as well as Bowie State University's Criminal Justice Department. So we are working with people who are committed to the success of our young people, and we will certainly go after grants and other opportunities as we see the need. But right now, our partnership is here, not asking for anything from us, but an opportunity to help. Yes.
Is there a plan for incarcerated fathers to deal with their children?
You know, that's a very good question. And what we often see are young people who have parents who have been in the system or who are in the system coming to us because, again, of the trauma of not having a parent in the home. And so we will, again, work with WIN and Interdynamics and all of these other groups here. That's why they said they go to the home, they go to the families, because they want to see and understand the dynamics of those families. So that certainly is a big part of what we do, because we do need to end the cycle, and that starts by going into the home and seeing how we can help them correct some of the behaviors and also the circumstances in the home that's leading to that behavior.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we get specific just on a protocol for who gets prosecuted and who doesn't? I mean, at some point you have a violent offender,
Oh, absolutely.
et cetera. So could you lay that out for us, please?
Sure. I mean, there are going to be young people who the appropriate answer is prosecution. What we want to avoid is young people who are unnecessarily prosecuted for what are youthful crimes. And so, but there are serious offenders. There are young people who commit serious offenses like murder, like rape. And those young people have to be held accountable for their actions. We have to ensure the safety of the community. And in many of those cases, prosecution is the right answer. But there are so many cases that come to us where prosecution isn't the right answer. And it may be a second offense or possibly even a third offense, but if we have not changed the circumstances for that young person, we've not addressed their mental health needs, maybe their social, emotional needs. Again, we have homeless children in our communities, in our school system. We have children who are victims of abuse, and what we see is that victims of abuse often come back as offenders because that's how they know, that's all they know and how they react to things. And so we have to be smart about how we address them, because what we know is that most people entering the justice system will at some point come out into the community. And it's how we treat them before they enter, or if we prevent them from entering at all, but it's how we treat them that will really determine how safe our community is in the future.
Can someone define the school to prison pipeline as you all see it, and how you think it works in Prince George's County? It's different for different people.
Well, I would say this, and I'm sure that Dr. Golson might have some thoughts about it, but I would say this. When we have resources in our school system that are important resources, like public safety. Public safety is important, let me say that. But when we have resources in our school system that may not be used appropriately, because sometimes the correct response in the school is not to arrest. Sometimes the correct response is something else, but that is what sometimes our law enforcement that's what they're trained to do, that's what they know how to do. But that may not be the appropriate response in a particular situation. And then that escalates, because once a public safety officer responds, and if the child is acting out, that public safety officer may be assaulted. That public safety officer may determine that what was relatively a minor issue to begin with has now escalated to an issue where that child is now arrested and processed. And so making sure that we end the cycle of not recognizing when a child might be having a mental health crisis or some other type of crisis that deserves a different type of response, that's what we need to change. And that's why I believe that that our CEO talked about the fact that these officers also, their first job is to be mentors, to be people that the children can talk to and get to know. So that, again, not just for the child, but also the officer sees that child as a human being, a whole human being with potential emotional issues, potential mental issues, potential family issues, that at that moment they have the ability to impact in a positive way, And if we can begin to have everyone in our system think like that, then we will change the outcomes for those young people. But I'll
That was
ask.
a great
Oh, okay,
definition.
well, then I'll just stop.
Thank
you.
Do you have numbers for how many arrests were made in the school system last year?
For last year, I don't have those numbers before us. But what's so important, and our state's attorney has said it before, we cannot be part of the problem. We have to be the solution. And we do have to look at alternative ways to address students. And I've said this over and over, we cannot suspend our way out of this. We have to provide the support to make sure that our students know that our community cares about them and we want them to be successful.
Ms. Braveboy, can you estimate what percentage of the juvenile population that comes through your office would qualify for diversion?
Well, I can't give you a specific number because we're going to look at each case or each individual on a case-by-case basis. But I believe that there will be a significant number, and I think after our first year we'll be able to give you some real numbers. But there'll be a significant number of young people that will qualify for diversion, and we will make the appropriate referrals. Okay.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right.